Well, hey, welcome everybody to another Tech Tip Tuesday. This is September 12th, 2023. Oh my gosh, running right through almost the middle of September already. My name's Ken Close. I am a member here at Healy World USA, like most of you guys probably. And I am joined by our awesome head of operations, Jake Barron. Hi, Jake. How you doing?
Hey, Ken. Good evening, everyone.
Excellent. Welcome, welcome. And we have Lightning Fingers Henry in the background, right, tonight?
We do. Thank you. Yes, Henry's here to help out. So thank you so much for that.
Awesome. Welcome, Henry. Thank you. Say hi to Henry in the chat. He's from our customer service department, live at our call here tonight. So guys, welcome to Tech Tip Tuesday. Here's what we do. This is a chat-based forum where you guys bring your challenges, mysteries, and maybe just needing some clarity to our chat, and we will do our very best to unpack those. So put your questions in the chat and we'll bring them here on live. Meanwhile, also in the background, Henry's back there bringing a lot of content and answering a lot of things. So hopefully we get to everybody's questions. We'll do our very best, of course. And what we can do, I just wanted to make sure I mention, we're not here to talk about any kind of disorders, disease, or to try to treat, prevent, or even suggest any Healy programs or modules for that. There are great resources for that that Healy has put in place. So just understand that if we have questions about that, we won't be able to really unpack any of that kind of stuff. Okay. So, okay. Well, hey, thanks you guys for being here, and let's get this party started.
Let's do it.
Let's see. What do we got here? Some hellos and welcomes. Thank you very much for being here. I see some familiar names here. Welcome back, you guys. So Jade says, hey, can I get help with the Blue Dot app? The something are gone. The what? The words are gone? Is that what that's supposed to say? The words are gone. So in other words, your app, if you are in your Blue Dot app, and let's say that you're trying to do a scan or you're trying to take a look at, some results from a previous scan or something, are you saying that there's no words? Kind of give us some help. Yeah, I see words. So yeah, what words are gone? Here's what I do. I'm going to tell you a little bit of sometimes, and it's not just with the Healy apps. If our smart device, folks, if we use these things for so much stuff now, right? I mean, who makes a phone call anymore? It's like, geez, I got all kinds of stuff I can do with this smart device. And what happens is some of the resources on the smart device starts to get tasked. If we have a lot of memory consumed in pictures and videos and apps and stuff like that, sometimes when you open an app, it doesn't fully express itself or be able to run properly. So, so here's some follow-up on that question. In the Blue app, there are no descriptions like before, only a title of a program. Okay. So let's see, and looks like you reloaded the old Blue, and it won't pull up anything of the program suggested. All right, so let's kind of start from the beginning. If we're trying to operate our app in general, anytime I have a problem with, I will first shut my smart device off, right? Because how many of you guys are doing that on a regular basis? Daily. Should be done regularly. Shut it off, turn it back on, allow it to reboot. And then there's a process that I highly recommend, is that you turn the Healy on first, then you open the app, right? Let that connection be made. If the app is acting odd or incorrectly, hard close, make sure everything else in the background is hard closed. So if you don't know how to hard close an app with your smart device, you can YouTube that and go to YouTube and say, hey, I got an iPhone 13. How do I hard close an app? Or I have an Android, whatever. How do I hard close an app? And they'll give you some examples. All right. So get to know your smart device and how to hard close things. If you got too many things running in the background, it's going to task the resources of the processor on your smart device. So shut all that stuff down in the background. And then I would go to your app store and open the app from the store itself. Because if there's an update available for the app, it's going to show up there, right? So if you in other words, you open up the app from your home screen, it's supposed to pull in updates and download them for you, but not always. So if you go to your app store and you click on, or you go to your app itself, there's going to be either a word that says update or an open. Even if it says open it from the app store. It'll help to kind of bring in a fresh copy.
Yeah, and Jade, in the chat, can you let us know if you're using iOS or Android too? Just curious.
Yeah, that's important.
iOS.
And
Okay.
using the new blue. Okay, so it's an iPhone. And what version of software on the iPhone, right? Because the new app requires 11.0 or higher. Is it 11 still? I think it's still 11. Okay, so here is iOS 7. So here's some of the problems that we start running into when we're running an operating system that is older, right? I'm gonna tell you how evolution of technology is going to continue. Hardware and capabilities are going to constantly improve and increase, and so there's going to be a time in which certain hardware is going to be outdated. So if that iPhone won't run or you can't load an iOS 11 or higher, that's where the problem starts to lie. It's possible, most likely, that the pink app will work, right? The Healy 2 pink app. But
yeah, I'm wondering, because are you running iOS 7 or do you have an iPhone 7? Because iOS 7 that's a 10-year-old system, operating system. So okay, iPhone 7.
yeah.
Which still, iPhone 7 was released 7 years ago now, but if the operating system has been updated, but yeah,
If you can go to your settings tab and click on general. So go to settings, and then in the menu, click on general. At the top, there'll be an about, and you'll be able to see what iOS version you're using right now. Maybe type in there what that is for us. That'll help a lot.
Yeah, again, and also when did this start exactly? Be curious if it was just in the last day or two, or if this was a week-long thing as well. Because there was an update to the new Analyse app. I believe it was on yesterday. I think on Monday. Henry's the expert here on that, so he can help assist. But let's see. As soon as I let go of the old, so it's been 10 days. So this wouldn't have been related to any sort of app update there.
Yeah, if it was 10 days ago, I would say, well, if you could type in what operating system you're using, but if it was working prior, in other words, it was working 10 days ago and now today it's not. My concern is that there is the apps themselves are essentially programs, right? They're programs, and they utilize the systems within your phone, within the hardware. So the screen, the audio, the video, all of that kind of stuff is utilized by the app. And if the app is displaying incorrectly, every digit, everything you see on the screen is handled by the program interfacing with the hardware of your smart device. So if there's something missing, then it's quite possible that there's something going on with the app. So you're using 15.7, all right, on an iPhone 7. So the operating system is up to par. It's high enough.
Mm-hmm.
the other thing we want to see is what kind of memory is available on your iPhone. So in other words, if you have a 256 gig iPhone, right? So it's a lot of memory, and you've got 255 gig used up in videos and in apps and all that kind of stuff. Then again, my recommendation is that we have at least 25% of the memory available. In other words, free, not being consumed by anything. And the reason is because that memory is utilized by the software or the app itself to store certain things in moments to, ready to display content. It might be over here stored, and then it displays on your screen, whatever. It's utilized. So, all right. So you have 38.7 left over. So, or is it used or left over? It's used. So 37.
Probably used. Yeah.
All right. So, so that's still okay. I mean, there's still enough room there.
Yeah, because the new Analyze app is more than twice the size of the old one. It's close to 200 megabytes versus around 86 or so with the old one. But like as Ken mentioned, if there's over 10 gigabytes available, then that should be plenty.
Yeah. So let's see. What other things? I mean, let's also put in there. I'm sure that deleting the app and reinstalling the app. Now let me go through that process for a minute, because just deleting the app and reinstalling the app is not quite a complete picture. And here's why: because when we do delete something off of our smartphone, possibly some of the programming ties are still left over in the background from the app that we just deleted. So whenever we're trying to start fresh, clear something out, we're having too many problems. Step one is if we're going to clear things out, delete the app, is you want to do a hard reset on your Healy. So hard reset of the Healy is to press and hold the power button for 15 seconds or however long it takes until the green light comes on solid. The green light will come on solid, and then release the button. So that's a factory hard reset, right? Now the Healy is essentially fresh. And then what we would do is we would delete the app from our smart device and then shut the smart device off. Give it a few seconds, turn it off, and then turn it back on. Then go to the app store, reload the app. Okay. Turn the Healy back on, and then watch them pair. Okay. So that's kind of the process of essentially starting from scratch. Now, I'm going to give you a little hint. This is probably my it's my third iPhone since I started with Healy. And I have like one of the original Healys, which is firmware 226, plus I have firmware 229. I have a couple of Healys. And I constantly do updates, and my system is always working. Rarely have I had any challenges, but I do turn the devices off. I do resets, certain things like that. So, and Henry's come in and actually said, hey, submit a ticket so that they can kind of look you up. And if you haven't already submitted a ticket, and then they can look you up and kind of see, maybe what's going on with your account. That's a good idea. All right. So yeah, so Jay, definitely, if you haven't tried that reset process and delete and reinstall process, that is one option. I've done that many times with folks over the phone, and that does the trick. I'd be really curious if you do try that, what happens. Okay. Let's see. All right. So here's let's see, here's a question. The Blue app store the dates of the programs that you're working on. Example, if I had scanned all Healy programs and there was a few of the programs that showed up, I vibrate for that day. But if I vibrate the same programs the next day, the date does not show up. How can I keep track of the number of days I am working on a certain program? So anytime you do a scan, there is a timestamp associated with that scan. If you're saying it disappears, so Henry is talking to you here about that.
Yeah, as far as it doesn't continue to update the date, if you go back to vibrate, it keeps that original date, you know, from when you did
Right.
that scan. So it would, I mean, for now, you know, it would kind of be up to you to, you know, you can set a reminder on your phone, you know, if you want to, like, okay, I'm going to run my programs at this time, and set a reminder for 5 days in a row. If you want to run these for you know, a 5-day period, something like that, you could do that if you're, you know, wanting to keep track of how many days in a row that you've done that. It's one option, but
Yeah, it's gonna, when you do a scan, it puts a timestamp in there of the scan, then it has that record for you for running the scan, or, you know, going back and running that same sequence again. But how often you run it yourself, you know, it doesn't really track that.
and because you know, one of your tips, of course, that we talked about many times, when you're doing that scan, is kind of you making notes of the results, those top 5 results, and then working on those for the next, you know, week or two at least before doing another one. So do you have any tips for remembering?
Well, so I work with I've worked with performance athletes, I've worked with weight management clients, I've worked with a lot of different folks in the physical body arena. And here's one of the things that's really, really necessary. So let's say, for instance, we're doing something on a regular basis and getting a specific result, and it's not the result we want. We need to track what we've been doing, right? And then change some of the things we're doing based on maybe a coach's input, a Healy's scan result, or whatever it is. And so it's really important to have a logbook, have a some kind of a journal, something that you can track things in. Now, when I work with a lot of clients, they have like MyFitnessPal or something like that, where you can track all the things you eat, gives you calorie counts or micronutrient content, and it's great for a coach to be able to take a look at these results and have some kind of track record of what they're doing. And then when we change something, no matter what it is we change, tracking what's different from that moment, because we wouldn't know if you didn't you know, look at how often you're running or redoing the same scan, you know, in other words, revibrating the same results. How often are you doing that? And what changed on the date you started? What changed? So tracking you as this body in space and time. How do you feel? And this is where a journal comes in. And there's some great journals out there in terms of, well, even the HealAdvisor app has some pretty cool feedback, right? Where you can have it give you a prompt to rate your mood every day, right? And you have a little smiley face all the way to a frowny face. You can do that, as simple as that is. But my recommendation is to definitely track what you're doing, because if you went to any coach, any management type of modality, and said, I want to change some aspect of myself, say, I want to lose some weight, I want to put on some muscle, whatever, they're going to ask you, well, what have you been doing? And if you can't remember what you even had for dinner last night, that's going to be a challenge to try to get some kind of history. All right. Okay. So Emily is asking here, what does it do when you vibrate the programs on the Blue app? Is it like running a regular program? So this is a great question, because vibrate, That's the word that Healy chose, right, to put in there as an action word, vibrate. And you know, you can't like put your hands on it and feel it oscillating or vibrating. That's not what they're talking about. They're talking about transmitting frequencies. Okay. So, so when you run a scan in the Blue app and it gives you content, some of that content is verbal, right? Written information about things that are going on, as well as it gives alignment frequencies to bridge that gap between this perfect you, right? This quantum imprint of you, and the dissonance, or what should be, or what this body is experiencing in space and time right now. And so then it creates frequencies that help to build coherence within you for the alignment. Okay, so how do you get those frequencies, right? How do we actually absorb, or how does any of this stuff move from point A to point B? Or how do we even, how does it get out of this little device into us? So within all things, everything is energy, and everything has a signature. Every form of energy, down to the molecular structure, has a signature, and that signature is a frequency, a vibrational state. So nothing is really still in terms of energy. Nothing's really still. It's moving in some fashion, and the movement is measured in a rate of change, aka frequency. Okay, so every cell in your body has a rate of change, right? Every emotion that you emit has a rate of change. Every structure around you has a rate of change, and all of that is a frequency. And so if there's some misalignment within these bodies, it's picked up by Healy's scanning mechanism. And then alignment frequencies are brought into the equation. And then within Healy, there is a frequency generator, noise generator. And when you hit the vibrate function, it starts to pulse those out into free space. Now, because we're talking about the Blue dot, the Blue app, and the HealAdvisor app, it's quantum entangled to the client, right? It's not sending those frequencies to just anywhere. It's sending them to everywhere, but very specifically to the client. And the client has been identified already, aka you, or whoever the client is. And through quantum entanglement, those energetic vibrations, those frequencies, get directly to that person. Okay, so that's how it's working. There's quite a bit of difference between that and the pink app, where we're working with microcurrent, or even the coil. There's a bit of difference, but that's how the Blue app is working. Okay. Okay, so Jan's got one here, says, I've been doing some of the pain programs lately, and I've noticed that when I use the larger 2x2 square adhesive electrodes that you have to run the program at a much lower intensity than I do when I'm using the smaller round adhesive electrodes made by Healy. I get that prickly sensation even at low intensities when I use the larger pads. What are my thoughts? So this is a great topic right here, because the pads themselves, even these wristbands, have a specific surface area, right? And when you wear a wristband around your wrist, now the wristband is about 7/8 of an inch wide, and depending on the diameter of your wrist, you could have up to 4 inches of surface area contact between the wristband and your skin. So the smaller the pad, you're going to get more transmission of electron flow, easier transmission of electron flow. So the bigger the pad you're sticking an electrode on, now you have more surface area. The little pads are only 1.2 square inches, the little pads, but some of those pads, the bigger they are, the more surface area contact you have. So you're going to be more sensitive to that transmission. You're going to feel more of that transmission. You're going to have to down regulate some of that, probably turn that intensity down, right? That's normal. That's normal because you're getting more input. You're getting a better collaboration, let's say, between your skin and the pad itself. So you have more electron flow, better surface area.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the science behind why. But as far as we can't really comment on any other third-party adhesive electrodes because we haven't tested them with our device.
Yeah.
So that's kind of up to you if you were to use that. Just we can't make any guarantees or performance guarantees related to any third-party accessory like that.
Yeah, it's always going to be you're going to change things. So in electronics, there is what we would call an impedance factor. And in other words, what is the potential for current flow to move through a circuit? And all of the parts of the conductive circuitry add to the resistance or the conductance. Okay. And when you have a transmitter device like such, and you're running electron flow out of wires, the wires offer very little resistance, but what does offer more resistance is these bodies. And so we have different types of resistance, and we are just simply a resistive load. And so again, all these tests that Healy does are based on the hardware provided to you in the original kit. So just keep that in mind. You're the experiment when you start experimenting with other stuff. So it's not a good or a bad thing. It's just a thing and something for you to pay attention to. And really watch the body. How does your body respond? And if it's, feeling tinglies or pricklies or something like that, then you need to either turn down the intensity if it's an irritant. And I'm going to tell you a little, another theory, another understanding around Healy is unlike some of the higher current flow devices that actually convulse muscle and tissue when it's connected, such as the TENS units. Healy's designed to go in under the radar, right? In a more subtle, more aligned, more balanced way in terms of communication with the cells. When you're running a TENS unit, the process and the therapy is effective only because of the oscillation and the forced movement of the tissue. So again, trying to get fluids in and waste products out and loosen up certain physical structures. But the cells at the cell level, they're angry. They are not happy because you're forcing them to do things, right? The TENS unit is forcing them to do things through an electrical pulse. You're very aware of it. So Healy is not designed to do that. Healy's designed to do that is to go below the conscious awareness and work on a more energetic field of coherence. And so if you're feeling it, so people used to crank it up. I used to hear it all the time. Early on in my Healy days, that people are cranking it up. Oh my God, I'm feeling this thing. That's not the point. That's not the point. The moment your body becomes aware of something happening, it starts to sway you into the fight or flight or sympathetic nervous system. That's not what we want to do. Healing isn't happening as effectively in that state. You want to be in the parasympathetic, the unaware of this going on, right? It's talking to the cells in their language. And what's their language? Well, it's light frequencies mostly. I mean, you can't really hear your cells talking, right? I mean, well, some can.
Ken, do you think that goes back to the no pain, no gain?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, in the athletic arena, that was a concept, no pain, no gain. And it's really, it's outdated. It's very outdated. And we need to rethink things.
Okay. You're muted there. I don't know what happened, Ken.
Yep, I'm back on. I'm back.
Okay, gotcha. All right. So there was a question earlier up, says, how is it possible to rename the coaching report? So are you talking about the PDF report that you can export? Or are you talking about the actual scan results? Because as far as the scan results in the Analyse two app, you can't rename the actual result that shows on your list, the history there. It would be underneath the client or underneath your name. But as far as the report, if you're referring to the PDF, you can always just save it and then rename it to something else on your smart device, whether your smart device or whether you're texting to somebody or emailing to somebody. You can change that file name if you'd like. So
yeah. So yeah, if there's any way of changing names or content, there's a little pencil icon along, but not when you get a scan result.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Here's a question here. When you are analyzing a client and don't know them well, just using the photograph and their personal details would be sufficient? It's a question. So there is some key information when we're putting in a client. And the reason is because of the way in which we are identified in the whole universe, right? So if we just take a picture, I've heard people say, oh my gosh, I met a guy that looks just like you, Ken. Well, if we just take a picture, there may be others out there that look similar to us. So yes, that's some identification, because now it's differentiating me as the one in the picture from, others that don't look like me. But there are some other details that we really need to put in there. So in other words, how the world knows us, our name is important. And so for instance, if your birth certificate might say, in my case, it says Kenneth, but I go by Ken. And so the world knows me as Ken. So I put my name as Ken. So the other thing is when you came to this life, your birth date is very significant in the field of energy. It's kind of an archive stamp in time. That's when you became a living form. So that's very important. So now a picture, the name, birth date. The other thing is demographics. Where you were born in this world starts to set the stage for a lot of the biology of your body and certain aspects of you. So that's another very key important thing. Gender is another. And I don't want to get too deep on the content of gender, but in the quantum field blueprint of you, there was an original build, right? And it was put together. You were born into it. And so that had a gender, and it had, so we would need to key off of that and put that content in there. So those are kind of the biggest factors. You don't need an email address and a phone number. And there's a lot of things in there. If you want to track clients and you're using it like as a business tool, that's great. That's why it's in there, so that you can have more content in there about the person. But for the scan purposes, you don't need a phone number and an email address and that kind of stuff. The things I mentioned, those 5 pieces are the most important pieces of information. Okay. All right. So here's another comment in here, essentially about someone using the larger pads, didn't register and couldn't get it to work until, made some changes. But again, like I said, whatever someone is using with your device, that's up to you. Just keep track of what it's doing. All right. Emily's asking, how do you drain the battery completely? Mine seems to stop working once it is below 40%. So there is a reset process. There's a reset process that I don't know if I'm just kind of going down to see if maybe Henry put anything in there about that reset protocol. No.
Yeah, yeah, it'd be great if Henry, when you get a chance, just to drop the hard reset process into the chat. That way they can save it and reference it again later. But yeah, that would reset that battery algorithm there, and then after you do the hard reset, then after you go through a couple of full charge and discharge cycles, that could fix the issue that you're having there with the not the calibrated battery sensor, essentially.
Yeah, when you see that little battery icon and it gives you a percentage or actually a color-coded indication, you know, it's not actually, there's no wires connected from the app to the Healy testing the battery in the Healy. It's just an algorithm, as Jake said. It's just an equation that is based on the assumption that a full rate of charge is X amount of voltage and a discharge is Y amount of voltage. And there's a span between them, and utilization in time discharges at a certain rate. So if that gets out of whack, and it can, there's a reset process. And so hopefully we can get that in the chat and you'll be able to see it. All right. Another part of Emily's question is, how can you run a program automatically that is recommended by the Healy experience? So if you're talking about recommended by the Healy experience, you mean like, for instance,
It's like a search result, or
yeah, I don't know what
possibly, but there in general, or maybe from in the Analyze app, when you run run a scan for microcurrent programs and you look at the individual program, if it's not all Healy programs, if it's within a program group, you can click that button to take you to the Healy app to then run that program with microcurrent. I wonder if that's sort of what you're referring to, but there's still some sort of process where you need to click on the button to activate that process. It's not going to just turn on and load the program and start the program without you sort of being involved in that process there.
Yeah, the HealAdvisor Search app went over here on the other side of me here. You can see the one with the squiggly lines right there, squiggly line. That one you can actually create lists and they can give you prompts of what programs to run, and it'll give you some alerts, and then you can tap on it and it'll bring you over to the pink app, but it won't actually start it. So if you don't have your Healy turned on or certain things, but it can kind of give you a prompt, and then you would manually go and start those programs in the pink app. So if that's what you're talking about, that's how you would look at that within the HealAdvisor. But as Jake was saying, if it was something that you scanned from the blue app and it gave you a list of actual programs within program groups, you would still need to go over to the pink app and run those in terms of microcurrent. The vibrate function that we talked about earlier is the way you would implement those frequencies via the blue app. But if you want to run them via microcurrent with the electrodes or the coil, you would have to kind of write the list down, manually go over to the pink app and turn those on. Now, the last part of that question, there's another part Emily's asking about in regards to the blue app that's talking about potency, intensity, and that kind of thing. What do those numbers mean? So there is, in the Academy, there is a explanation of that, but within the blue app, you can actually tap on the icon or the number itself, and it'll give you kind of a breakdown, right? It's an active button, essentially, that sequence of numbers. So you have a percentage, a bracket, a number, and then letters and numbers at the end. Tap on that within the new HealAdvisor 2 app and see what you get. Gives you some explanation. Also, we've talked about a video before kind of talk that explains that within the coaching training. That's in your academy, guys.
Yeah.
If you haven't been in your academy and gone through all those videos, you're missing out. I guarantee you, if everybody on this call had gone through all those, some of these questions might be answered. And then you have a resource that you could rewind or pause and write things down. Okay. What else we got?
There was some feedback here related to the question about being able to rename the scan results. It's not possible right now in the Analyse app, but this is a great great sort of example of if you have any feedback regarding the new app and it's a feature that you wish it had, use the send feedback feature that's within the Analyse 2 app. If you go to the settings, there's a send feedback option, and you can pick the category. Send that, if you really want that, the ability to rename, just put a quick message in there and it'll go to the app development team. And, who knows, it could be, if enough people request this, it could be included in an update in the future.
Okay. So by the way, Henry did put in the that reset process. But folks, if you want to save this chat, if you don't know how to do that, down there where you're actually putting in your typing stuff, there's 3 little dots next to the smiley face icon. Tap on those 3 little dots and there'll be a save chat function, and you can save the chat at the end of the call. It'll pop up on your screen if you're on a PC or laptop.
Yeah. Okay. Got a question here about the ear clip electrodes. This comes up fairly regularly because they're, some of our Healy videos might show the ear clip electrodes in use because they are available in Europe and some of the other countries around the world. Those are not included. They weren't part of the FDA clearance for the Healy device here in the United States. So those aren't available for sale here in the US. So if you have any questions, if anyone's curious, you can always go. You can't order them from the Europe shop, but if the question here is what do they look like? You can go, anyone can go to the Europe shop, go to eu.healy.shop, go to the accessories section, and you'll see there's a picture of the ear clip electrodes if you're curious what they look like. And it shows the detail that you were asking about there.
When we're connecting these wristbands or the sticky pads to our body, it's using a conductive silicone, right? Conductive material. What other things are conductive? Okay.
Thank you, Henry, for putting those hard reset steps into the chat here. Appreciate that.
Yay. That's awesome. Yeah, it's good information. You can save that like in a file, in a Word document or a PDF document, or however you want to save it on your computer. And then you can email it to yourself, and then you can put it on your iPhone or your tablet or whatever. All right. Let's see. Jen asks, can I run the FSM MagHealy programs on the Healy Resonance? So the MagHealy programs, so all the databases that Healy has are, on the Blue app. And yes, you can do a scan on those databases and then find results, what best aligns you, and then run them from the Blue app. The McMakin programs, the 2-channel programs, they're not going to function quite the same because you're getting essentially one frequency at a time. But you'll still get the content within that particular program's protocol. So yes, you can definitely use that database and run those programs. That's what's cool. Even if you don't have say digital nutrition or bioenergetic vitalization or any of those kind of things, if that kind of stuff comes up on your scan, you can still run it from the Blue app,
Yeah.
right? Without having the subscription or even having the programs on your Pink device, on your Pink app. I love that. Yeah. All right. So here's a question about, so someone had read Carolyn McMakin's book. That's awesome. And wondering if her combinations of frequencies from channel A and B are the same kind of frequencies that are in the MagHealy. So she's based, the MagHealy and the McMakin system is based on her protocols, her design.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the reason why there's those 2 quantum sensors in the MagHealy, so it has the ability to do the 2 frequencies, Ken just mentioned, the 2 frequencies at the same time. So that is the power of that McMakin module. So
yep. And channel A and channel B, you know, one for the issue and one for the tissue, as she says, right? And so yeah, you're running those 2 at the same time, and there are distinct benefits that her research and experience has shown. So it's implemented. This is why, as Jake said, why the MagHealy has 2 of the sensors, or actually of the noise generators. There's 2 in there, and there are 2 Kozrev mirrors in there designed to build a very specific filtering mechanism so that this transmission can get more clearly, which is, I mean, there's no frequency transmission device out there that uses the type of system that Healy does. And for the purity, like, I mean, how many of you guys, you know, shop organic and non-GMO, right? You shop with, get as clean a food as you possibly can. And so you find maybe a trusted resource, and you try to get as good a products as you can. So that particular vendor, you trust, and does a really good job. So that's kind of like Healy. I trust that they're doing a very good job because it's the highest quality. We're getting the best signal we can get. Okay.
we had some feedback here. I want to address this point here. Says, I don't want Healy to start charging monthly to use the Analyse app starting October 1st. Because I won't be able to get any of my prospects to buy after that point. So that is not any current Healy World member or customer that has access to the Resonance modules or the Analyse app. Anyone new that joins before October 1st gets the professional plan, which is the full all access, unlimited clients, unlimited everything, for free for life. So that's a benefit to certainly purchasing before October 1st, but then going forward, starting October 1st, anybody that joins, any new member or customer gets the professional plan for free for 6 months. And then after that point, you can either continue on the professional plan for an annual fee, it's not a monthly fee, or you can get the friends and family plan, which is a little bit cheaper, or there's a free plan too, which the free from what we've seen, the free plan is enough for, you know, the vast majority of everyone that uses how they use the Analyse app. So there is a free option. There is no requirement to have to pay to use the Analyse app after October 1st. There's certain features as far as the unlimited storage for clients and that kind of thing where you can upgrade, but there isn't a charge for anybody unless they want to access unlimited data essentially at that point.
Yeah, let's look at it this way. For instance, you know, moving forward, even the free plan with the Blue app is going to give you the ability to have not just yourself, but a couple people there, right? So if you're using it as a business model, then you may want to upgrade to the paid for subscription, but you're also making money from it. Now, if it's just for your friends and your home and your family, you really don't need that professional model, or you don't need a whole bunch of clients. You just, if you're going to do a friend, analyze a friend, you put the friend in there, do the thing, and then they get their own Healy, right? Remove them from yours, delete them out of there so you don't use up that space. It just makes sense to me. If you have a family, you got room in there to put your family. So it makes sense. And because there's a lot of folks that really have all that and don't use it. And yet the server might be clouded with unused memory that's being consumed or just not needed. Okay, so let's see. Here's a question. There's a comment that McMakin's book is fantastic, highly recommended. I agree. I have it. I love it. Jan asks, did you say that we can't order the ear clip electrodes in the US? Yes, we said you cannot.
Yeah.
Yes, we said you cannot. You can look at them by changing what shop you're in.
Mhm.
Log in and change the shop to the European shop, and you can go and look at them. But if you try to order them, it's going to see your address or your account is US based account is say, nope, sorry, can't do that. And it's all compliance. We want to make sure we're compliant. We don't want any of the regulatory systems to get on board to give us a hard time. All right. Let's see. How long are the analysis available in the Blue app? Is there a limit? So if you do an analysis, how long are they, the new system?
In the new, starting October 1st, the free plan, the history, I can access it for up to 6 months. In the professional plan, which all existing members and customers and anyone that joins before October 1st with a residence, it's unlimited. So
Unlimited. So if you have it now, think about it this way, guys. If you have the resonance now, the unlimited features and all the way it works is going to stay the same. Nothing's going to change. And anybody buys all the way up until the end of this month, right? It's all the same thing. Same thing. So you're good. All right. And thank you, Laura, for putting in the name of the book, The Resonance Effect. Yeah, you're right. It's super easy to understand. Even comes on Audible, by the way. All right. So Jen says, but the 2-channel device, MagHealy, is more powerful and therefore more effective. Okay, we're looking at 2 different modalities. We're not quite apples for apples. The Healy itself is designed under certain parameters, and is the electron flow in our body is super effective. Tons of studies from the early 1900s around the effectiveness of microcurrent through the body on ATP production, amino acid transport, protein synthesis. A lot of information around there. So there's still studies and data being collected on the magnetic emissions. So again, the MagHealy sends magnetic emissions out, and the body is like a walking, talking antenna, right? That receives these frequency signals, and then the body decodes them and utilizes them within the cell structures of our body. So different, they're not the same. And so I say I use them. I would say use them both because they accent each other. In fact, Marcus, they did a study to find out, when you're using Healy and MagHealy in conjunction, what's the increased and improved effectiveness? And it was increased by using the MagHealy in conjunction with the Healy. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say one more powerful than the other because we're looking at 2 different modalities of transmission, microcurrent versus magnetic emission. And the MagHealy using under the McMakin protocols is sending 2 frequencies at the same time, which Healy doesn't do. All right. So yeah, a little different, a little hard to make those comparisons. Okay. Where are we? Are we caught up, Jake?
think we are. I was going to, we only got a couple minutes left here, but I was gonna, for those of you that missed our Healy for Beginners and Beyond last week on Thursday, it was awesome. It was a lot of fun. Ken, Doc Steve, and Colette we were all together discussing those Analyze app databases in the Resonance module. So we had a ton of people on the call. The recording's been very popular so far, but if you missed it and haven't checked out the recording yet, go to HealAmericas.com and you'll see here, this is the video, the recording. So if you go to HealAmericas.com, it'll take you right to our Healy World Americas channel on YouTube. And the first video listed, I already clicked on it, but you'll see here when you get to the video, when you first get to it, it won't have all the details showing there. But if you click on the more, it'll show all the different topics that were discussed. You see, we went through Bach flower remedies, Australian bush flowers, Alaskan gem elixirs, creative homeopathy, sutular salts. So it was everything. And there was a lot of great tips as far as using each of these different databases as we went along. Ken had a great segment there on vital substances. So definitely check that out, that recording, if you're not already. It was a longer Healy for Beginners and Beyond, but there was a ton of information shared there, and you can go back and reference all of it here, and then you'll see this is the main page you would get to on Healy World Americas. You'll see it's the first video listed here, Healy for Beginners and Beyond from last Thursday, September 7th.
Yeah, definitely get in there, click the subscribe button and the notification button so that you can be notified when new videos are added to that. This Tech Tip Tuesday will be added to that. We've got all kinds of cool stuff in there. There's a lot of stuff, and Jake's crew does all of the hyperlinking and categorizing. So it's like, wow, it's a great resource. You can just listen to exactly what you want. And you can share those kind of pieces with other people. If you found it valuable, you can send a link real quick. Okay. And so as you saw up there, it is, there it is. Jake just put the link in there. Save this chat, folks. Now, if you clicked on save chat earlier in our call, all this stuff that was added after that is still going to be there for you. You don't have to click on save chat again. It'll just have a link, a pop up at the end of the call that's going to say save chat, and then you can save it, rename it. It'll be all text content, so you can copy and paste as you wish. Okay. Let's see, Emily, thank you. Good reminder to check out videos in general. Yes. And our Healy Academy. The Healy Academy is awesome. Just keeps getting better and better. I think we're going to win an Academy Award. Don't you?
I think so.
All right. All right. So we're getting to the end of our time. Henry, thank you so much for all of your content and adding and blessings you've put in there. Gotta love it.
Yeah, Healy Academy is all instructional videos. There's overviews of how to use each of the different functions, how to use the Healy app, how to use your MagHealy, how to use the new Analyze 2 app, how to use the coaching module. There's some great tips in there also now on the new member journey, as far as building a business with Healy, how to get started, which is great. Just in the last month or two, that was a ton of great information there. So it's just academy.healy.world. Thank you, Henry, for putting the link into the chat there. And yeah, it's hours and hours of content in there. It's all worth reviewing, though.
It completely worth it. I'll tell you, I always send. If you're just using your Healy, it's a good idea. Go in there, browse through things that interest you, and then study them. But especially if you're building a business around Healy, because that's also in there. And you really need to be effective as a good leader and be able to know. And I say, go to Healy School, right? That's what the Academy is all about. I spent many hours, many hours, and still do, by the way, learning how things are working and changes that are coming up.
Yep.
All right, guys, we are at the end of our hour. Thank you so much, Jake. Thank you, Henry. Appreciate audience, all you guys for being here. It's been a pleasure to serve you, and join us for our What's Up Wednesday.
Yep.
Keep an eye on the call schedule and the calendar. Man, a lot of good stuff there. So we'll see you next week. Jake, anything you want to add?
No, that call calendar is at HealyAmericasEvents.com. It's got all of our upcoming calls and trainings and things like that.
Healy Event America.
HealyAmericasEvents.com.
There we go. Write it down. All right, you guys, save the chat. Click on it. There it is. Here we go. All right. See you guys next week. Big love. Thanks,
Thank
y'all.
you. Thanks, Ken. Thanks, Henry. Have a good night, everyone.
Bye, everybody.